Well, I mean, so you started with 200 grand the first year, and now you guys are doing 25 million.
Yeah.
Dude, it's insane. What's up, guys? Today we have special guest Marc Kuhn. He's a real estate developer, owns about 150 multifamily units, and owns over 100,000 square feet of luxury self-storage. Welcome to the show, bro.
Yeah, dude. Thank you for being here. Man, it's nice to be in Oahu.
Yeah, so I mean, how's it? You guys, so you just came in, you flew in from, where are you guys flying from?
Well, we were down in Maui.
Okay.
On Brandon Turner's podcast, so that was
Awesome,
exciting.
awesome.
Got to meet with him and Cam on their combination show now. They're
Okay.
kind of changing the Better Life a little bit, but it was an awesome show.
Dude, Brandon's such a beast, man. Like, we were just actually talking about him recently. He's got so much going on. He's accomplished so much in such a short period of time, and he was a big influence in my career. I think when I first started, he was the reason kind of why I started getting into real estate investing.
Oh yeah. Brandon's like the OG, right? The last 10 years. I think that's why his ability to raise money, it's because he's had all these people curated for the last decade, and the guy crushes social. Now he's crushing media himself, and he's getting better.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So a lot of influence, man. If it's not the Rich Dad Poor Dad books, it's Brandon Turner.
Yeah, it's Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? Those are the two ones, right? People always get started with.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, how did you actually get started with real estate and real estate investing?
Yeah, man. So my whole real estate journey kind of came through my contracting career. So I started as a contractor right next to my dad, and basically since 6 years old, all the way up through my 21 years old.
So contracting's almost been in your family's bloodline.
Yeah, pouring concrete.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of where, when you're used to pouring concrete, you gain these skills, because concrete's going to get hard, and you need urgency. You need to learn how to be efficient and really focus on what you're doing.
Because if you guys take too long, then now it's gonna be you can't it's once it hardens, you're kind of screwed at that point, right?
You're just super focused, because this can either go really easy if we're focused and we're efficient, or it's going to be the worst day ever if, some things are out of control, like wind and heat. But for the most part, you learn how to really focus on what you're doing. And when you're pouring concrete, I've done it for years, but I don't do it today. Anyway, just time flies, you know what I mean? When you're that focused.
That's such a good point.
I feel like
whenever you're focused on something, you're kind of they call it in the zone, you're locked in.
Yeah.
I feel like you're super efficient, number one, super productive, your brain's running at 100 miles an hour, but also time goes by so fast, right? You accomplish so much in such a short period of time, but it doesn't feel like work because you're just in the zone, right?
Yeah.
So.
No, when you're in that flow state, man, you start, concrete truck comes at 7. It's noon. It's boom. It's what happened? And then, I really enjoy the process, and I learned a lot of skills through concrete work, construction work. Worked right next to my dad from age 6
Which
to
is
21.
Awesome. That was really a good experience.
Yeah, and obviously shaped my career. I should have probably taken over my dad's business, but him and I butt heads, so we are the same human. So we're both stubborn in our own ways. So I ended up quitting him after all those years of working for him and getting a W-2 job.
What did you work as a W-2?
I actually just tested soils and concrete, so I was kind of in the same.
So it's kind of similar kind of vertical, but just on the W-2 size.
Yeah, you work with contractors as a tester, and you learn that contractors can be assholes too. So
some of them are amazing, some of them are just to work with, and so there's such a wide diversity, I feel, of contractors.
They're not all created equal. I know you know a lot about flipping. They're definitely some you trust, some you don't. But anywho, I learned through that job. Actually, it was the middle of 2008, and I actually got fired from that job because I think as an entrepreneur, you just take. I haven't listened to anyone but my dad growing up, and then it was I was taking all this direction. So I lasted about a year, but I got fired from that job. But I just bought a house with the $8,000 check Obama gave away in 2008 because they were incentivizing people buying homes again. I think it was maybe it was 2009, 2010, something like that. And you got an $8,000 check. So we actually sold my girlfriend's car at the time, which her parents really didn't like me at that point. I sold their car for $7,000 cash to come up with a down payment.
Wow, okay.
And then we leased a Toyota Venza or something at that time. And we had the cash to close in this house, and then I lost my job 2 weeks after we closed.
Wow, okay.
So here I am at home. I had to call my girlfriend at the time, fiance, and I said, I just lost my job. She's like, "What do you mean? What are you gonna do?"
Dude,
and I was I don't know.
Stressed out at that point in time. So
yeah, I remember my dad coming over, and because after this time, it was a year or so, my dad and I were good, whatever. We were on good terms. So he comes over and he's just hanging out in my back patio. It was it's just a regular Thursday. And I'm used to just being busy because I was going to school at the time and had a full-time job. So And then we had this house, we had bills, and I think that's what you do as an entrepreneur. And so I had to figure it out. It was like, well, my dad's like, oh, you can come help me. It was like, I knew I could do that. And I was like, but I wanted to do something else. And then I still didn't think I could agree with him on taking over his business because he was kind of exiting and I was getting into it. So I went and replaced like a fart fan. That was my first job in a bathroom, the ventilation fan. So I went and installed one of them for like $280. And then I literally just started, I named the company Mac, which is my initials, Marc Kuhn.
So that's how you started the general contracting company. It started with a fart fan in the bathroom, and then now you're
dude. We did $200,000 that first year, and I did about. I can do about 25 million now.
Wow. And with the construction company?
It's a general contracting and concrete company. Okay. So those are the two things closest to my heart. And
well, I mean, so you started with $200,000 the first year, and now you guys are doing 25 million.
Yeah,
dude, it's insane.
Yeah. So, and I appreciate that. There's lots of times in business, like especially in contracting, it can be cutthroat and it's a very difficult market. And there's like these thresholds, you get to the $1 to $2 million level. Like that's very difficult because now you're either doing a lot yourself. And
I feel like when there's different points in the small business where like in the beginning you're doing everything yourself, right? So it's like you have like no time, but then like you're keeping 100% of the money, right?
Yep.
Then when you start to hire people in the very beginning, there's like not enough work for it to be like you lose money when you first start hiring people, right? So you're trying to buy back your time until you can get the machine running, but that it's very inefficient because you don't make enough money to pay employees, but you have to go through that step to get to that next level, right?
Dude, nailed it. Yeah. It's a threshold where you're like, I am crushing it, but I am so freaking busy that I don't even know what to do. And I think expectations as an entrepreneur are really high for other people. Yeah. And then they come in and disappoint you. Yeah. And you're like, well, you could be doing all of this.
Like partners, employees are like, well, I did this in like 20 hours. How come it's taking you like 60 hours to do like the same job or something, right? So
so you have to get completely used to that. Basically, when you get to those thresholds, you'll know, and to break through, you're going to lose money. Not lose money, but you're going to.
You're gonna see a decline in income, right? Yeah.
But I ended up in the hospital at that $1 to $2 million mark. I made it about 5 years in business. I didn't really know business. I knew how to work really hard. That's what solopreneurs do, right? And then you add more and more people, and everyone answers to you.
Yeah, it's a different skill set. Like becoming is at each stage. Like number one, just grinding and working hard. That's what's gonna get you to that first level, right? But if you stay just grinding super hard, you're never gonna like expand or be able to delegate to get to the next level.
But that's what Dad taught me, right? Like all these baby boomers, they just do everything themselves.
Yeah.
So you got all these businesses dying right now because they don't know how to expand outside because of course they're the best at what they do.
Yeah.
No one else does it to their level.
Yeah.
So that way they can't expand and scale. So like for me, I ended up in the hospital though. I just from panic attacks, just because I didn't realize at the time. I thought I was crushing it. I thought I was living the American dream because I just built a house and I had 15 employees and everyone was answering to me and I was just chaos all day. Well, apparently that catches up with you when you're drinking 2 Monsters, 14 coffees, and
it sounds like my life right now. But
So maybe we're going through this, but that's what it took me to keep me going. And I just knew that like the doctor told me he's like. You just had a panic attack, but you should probably look at your life and figure out, you're going to have to get some things off your plate.
Yeah.
He's like, you got 72 notifications and you've been laying in this bed for a minute or like an hour. And it's like, that's.
So this is like from 200,000 to like $1 million or 2 million in revenue at this point in time.
Yeah. You break $1 million, you're going to have employees and everyone's going to be directed to you.
It's kind of like you're an octopus with a lot of technicals at this time. So like all the decisions still come through you as the main decision maker.
You're the only guy, and you only allow people to make the decision through you.
Yeah.
At that point, right? Like you don't want to let go of anything. So then I hit the hospital, and then it's like, okay, how do I get out of this? Or you know what I mean? Like, so then I was curious, like, for people to have like 50 employees, that was like mind blowing. Like, I would just die. And my dad always told me, he's like, hey, more people you have, the more problems you're going to have. That's what he taught me. So that's what all I knew. And
it's like the mindset, I feel like. And so I actually had a talk with another investor, and he's like, hey, I don't want employees because when you add employees, you're multiplying your complexities. Like if you hire one person, there's just you and the guy, right?
Yep.
When you have 2, now there's like you, the guy, and so there's multiple communications going on. If you have like 5, it's not just times 5, it's times like 25 because they're all going around to each other until you can get like the main guy who can oversee and take things completely off your plate, right?
Yeah. You have to learn how to delegate. So I got curious, basically leaving the hospital. It's like, how do you do this?
Yeah,
Like, how do you
yeah.
have a real business?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you have to learn how to not only delegate, but keep them accountable because they're doing it your way.
Yeah.
Well, then you learn something about SOPs or systems and processes, which
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, we never want to sit down and do a process.
It's like you went into entrepreneurship so you don't have to have rules and guidelines, right?
Yeah.
But the more you kind of build business, you're like, oh, that's why they do it. That's why there's like HR departments. That's why like all these rules, because it actually helps you to have more freedom with the things in place.
Yeah, well, it's like McDonald's can hire 14-year-olds to assemble burgers, and it's done the same way in every country.
Yeah,
well, it's because they have good systems of process. So then, like, I simplify it in my weird construction brain, right? Like, everything's got to be very simple to me for me to understand it. So I'm like, oh, that makes sense. But I sat down and wrote processes for like a day. It was the most miserable day of my life. And it just like, we do not want to do that.
Dude, like writing systems and processes it feels like somebody's just stabbing me with a knife. Like, it's like the most painful thing for me too. I hate doing it.
My attention span. And then like now, like if I were to do this all over again, like if you're out there and you're listening to this, you're like, hey, I like what he's talking about. Like do video, just do quick video, 1 minute. Because you do not want to create processes by writing them all down, screenshots on your computer screen and all that. It take you a whole day to write one. And then it'll change in 6 months and then you're not happy again. So anyway, started learning all this stuff. Like, wow, this is like what businesses do. And they run off a scorecard. Like, do you track any measurements in your business? Like, no. I just tried to do more. Well, doing more apparently winds you up in the hospital. But if you actually lay out a scorecard for your team, and you know, it's like playing basketball without hoops is how I like to say it. It's like, you don't know if you're winning or losing.
I love that analogy. I feel like a lot of times, like as entrepreneurs, we're just trying to like get somewhere, but we don't have a clear indication of exactly where we're going and kind of like the metrics that are going to get us there. And so like you're kind of like, you're playing basketball blind or you're flying blind without any kind of like guidance or like, what do you need to adjust to actually reach the goal, and what is even the goal, right?
Yeah. So. And I have coaching students. I tell them that let's think about the 10-year plan. Let's write the dream down. Let's go into a 3-year plan, and let's go into a 1 year, and let's go to a week. So let's just start mapping out what's the inputs to get the outputs that we want later. Otherwise, we're never going to hit the goals that we want if we're not tracking daily inputs. So like a book like The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham.
I love that book, by the way.
Awesome book, man.
That book has like, it's so much wisdom packed into such a little thing. I feel like every time I read a chapter again, it's like you extract more and more out of it. It's like, that's an awesome book.
And he's simple. It's like, it's not hard. Just track what they're doing. And it's like anything, you're like, well, you could sit down and think, though, there's no KPI. It's like, come on, go on Google. I promise you there is. Don't go off financials. Financials are the worst thing to look at because that is a lagging indicator. That's just telling you what you did. And by the time you get those financials for the end of that month, it's too late to pivot. You already lost another month. Don't do that.
Especially with like for like flipping or real estate investing, it's such a long cash conversion cycle where the end result of what you did is like 6 months or a year ago sometimes. And so like, you can't really tell if you're successful until like way down the line. But if you wait that long to pivot, like if it takes a year to make a decision on whether or not you're doing it right or wrong, you're like, it's going to be very hard for you to really stay in business, right?
It was just like, you're not going to get the goal. You're not going to be happy about the goal because you weren't doing the inputs. You just didn't know. So your leading indicators are most important, but KPIs.
Talk about that. So what's a leading indicator? What's a lagging indicator?
Well, you know, like what to let's just say to get followers, we got to get impressions, right? And we do impressions by using social media. What works, right? Like what leads to the most impressions. If we can get a lot more impressions, we're probably going to gain followers, right? A lagging indicator.
So the lagging indicator is a followers. It's kind of like the result of actions prior to where it's taken prior. And then the leading indicators are things where like you're doing like right away and you can actually see the impact immediately.
Yep. And so I think KPIs are all your score like during the thing that creates the outcome. And so you can Google any business. I promise you there are KPIs. And if not, there's coaches out there that will find you KPIs and build you a dashboard for your small $1 million company.
Awesome.
But yeah, that was a lot like me growing up. Like that was like going through, and then you get to 3 to 5 million. Whole new array of problems. Now you have lots of people. You have twice as many, maybe 20, 30 people. And you're like, wow, now I'm still making like key decisions in the company, but trying to rely on managers and keeping people accountable.
Yeah.
Keeping people accountable is very difficult.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to keep a lot of people accountable.
It's like, it's not even business. It's like, first it starts off as an entrepreneurship, then it's like small business, and then it just becomes leadership, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's not even about the business. Like it's just like, how well can you get motivated and inspire the team to kind of like want to come to work and want to give their best every single day.
Oh yeah. Culture, like how important culture is. That's almost like trumps everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you could have the best business ever. Andy Elliott, super intense. But look at the culture. You got to have a six-pack to work there. You got to, you know what I mean? Those guys are all on the same page, though. They all want it. They're all going to chase it.
I mean, it's funny. We were on a call talking about some of his actual operation. And so his operation, like, so this is secondhand. I don't know if it's really true or not, but like all his guys are killers, right? The culture is amazing, but they don't use dialers. They're just on their cell phones making the phone calls like by hand, which is super inefficient. Versus guys who look on dialers and they can get way more calls in, but like obviously the dude is crushing it, and I think 100% is just because culture beats like the operational like every single day of the week, right?
Yeah, dude. Well, you just build your team, and it's not really a team; it's a community of teammates, right? And then they have this culture, and they want to grow it. Grant Cardone, 10X, crazy culture. Sherry Hamilton, like she's a absolute beast behind all the Cardone enterprises. Like she creates the culture. If you, it's like Jared, Grant, and Sherry. Sherry's probably more important than even Jared in that team. You know what I mean? But like, if you know the 10X team, but they have this incredible culture. They build these teams around them, and they just all chase that goal. They're all rowing the boat in the same direction, and their team is just growing because of it. Because people are attracted to that. Yeah. The right people are attracted to that.
And the thing is, like, when you have a good culture, like people self-select themselves out, because if you're not aligned with like the rest of like the crew who's rowing, and like if you don't fit in, you're just kind of like, I don't feel comfortable. So then like it kind of forces everybody to kind of be on the same page, just because the majority of people are all like going in the same direction, right?
Oh yeah. And so that's really my thresholds through business, right? Like you get up to a certain level. We found basically to get us to I wish I would have found it earlier, but EOS, the book Traction by Gino Wickman, phenomenal. If you're getting into that $3 to $5 million range, you can afford to hire like a coach and implementer, and then you're creating decisions as a board. Now I can leave for months and know that I can either zoom into this hour-and-a-half meeting. That's all I spend really within my construction company is an hour and a half, and we make decisions as a board. With 5-6 of us, so it's not just one person making a decision. I'm the visionary because that's my role at the company. But I just have a chair on the board, and then it's all our operators making decisions, and we're buying in the decisions together. So,
so that's how did you guys get from 3 to 5 to 25? Is that
it wasn't EOS. I didn't find out about that, but here's what I did, because I'm in North Dakota. Okay, it's a limited market. It would be like having a handyman company in Hawaii, I'm sure, and then like trying to get to 25 million. But you can't do it just doing handyman work. I realized that I needed to start to develop real estate. And I got that opportunity about 5-6 years. I was getting really curious about how to grow my business. Like, what do the wealthy do to like have all this make money while you sleep? You see all these things like, what the hell? Like, how do I do that? So then I'm just like Curious George about like everything. And that really helped me, because then I started asking people for help, and I figured out like, hey, real estate. And guys like Grant Cardone and Brandon Turner are jumping on your phone, and it's like, wow, what the hell are they talking about? And then so in 2017-ish, I was working for a developer from Vegas, and he was selling out of he was up in North Dakota because, of course, just Vegas was dry at that time. And we had kind of coming out of the oil boom. And then these guys are like, hey, we want to get rid of this project. And I ended up buying this development. It was like probably about 100 townhomes. In North Dakota. And my wife was selling them. She's a realtor up there. And then I was the builder. So it was like great.
So you had like the inside scoops into a lot of these things where like you understood the construction side and the sales side, but you just like the developer side was like the missing piece of the puzzle.
Well, I was like, I don't have a bunch of money. Like I just didn't, right? Like I was like, I can't send you $2 million. And then he it was like the first creative finance. I was like, here, he's like, I can get you some bank notes. Cause I was going to buy like 6 of their properties that we were building for them. And then I was going to buy all the rest of the land. I was like, I don't know. I don't have the, like, I didn't know creative finance was even a thing. Right. And so then, I got some bank debt on the property. So I gave them some cash and then they financed the parcels as I sold them.
Okay.
And so I negotiated the price. And of course you get an uptick as a developer. Like, I was buying lots at 20 grand and I was selling them for like 35 grand a piece.
Okay.
So I was starting to get their note paid down. And then by the last portion of those townhomes, I was building like 5 plexes. And by the last portion of those, of course, I had them all paid off. So I was making a ton of money at the end of that.
So at the end, it was just straight profit because like the whole thing was like when you're a developer, like the first, like you say you're going to build like 5 houses, the first 3 is just to like break even and the last 2 is where the profit is, right?
Literally, So that's the risk as a developer, you're always money poor because you always are all fully invested into the front half, hoping that the back half pans out where you're going to make your money. And so that's what I did. So I learned the game. What I loved though, we were building 5 plexes, which means it was affordable housing at that time. But we could lease to own, we could rent them, we could sell them. Like we had all
exits
sorts
were
of
like,
options.
it was amazing on the exit side.
Yeah, because it's in a market with not great demographics. Like it's not like a super big growing market. So I wanted to mitigate my risk as much as possible, just because I was like a new developer.
In case you couldn't sell it, right?
I could have been a sinking ship for all I know. But I ended up holding. We built out that entire project, and I ended up holding 22 of those units.
Wow.
And then I did my first syndication with them and reversed my equity back out of them.
Explain that to me. That's
So I had, of course, I financed them in 2021 when rates were cheap at 3.8%. Held on to 22 of these townhomes, refinanced them all together as one project. And then I raised money. People were wondering how I was creating so much wealth the last several years, and was like, I'm investing in real estate. So kind of raised money from friends, family, close people, and did my first syndication, raising money.
So you own these properties. Let's say how much were they worth at this point in time?
They were about $4.5 million.
Okay, so that you kind of own this $4.5 million portfolio, basically in cash at this point.
Yeah.
Then you're like, let's raise some money from friends and family, take off debt. I mean, put them as the lien holders on the properties. Now you got cash to kind of play and do whatever you want, and your lenders are making a lot of money just on a monthly payment from the cash flow.
Yeah, everyone was winning, and I still didn't have a lot of money as a developer. It takes a lot of capital, right? But my basis was 190. I could raise money though at an appraised price, which was 210. So I got a gap in equity, which was nice. And then they also cash flowed nicely, so I could raise and do an 8% preferred return for these people that wanted actual mailbox money, passive. They don't want to deal with any of the BS. Just send me a check. And
that's one of the things I think people don't realize is when you own rentals, it can have a headache. And so when you're looking at the rent and the mortgage, right, the maximum cash flow you're ever going to get is the rent minus the mortgage. But that's the max is probably going to be there'll be expenses, there'll be vacancies, there's going to be repairs. And so the actual net is always less than what your projected max would be. And so when you can choose, I can buy a house, a single family or a multifamily, or I can invest with a guy like Marc. The returns might be a little less with you on paper, but it could potentially be higher in real life, and it's a way less easier because it's a guarantee. You don't have to think about it. You got to deal with a property manager or anything else like that, right? So,
no, I think it's great, and I hope to be an LP when I grow up. Every kid should tell themselves, I want to be an LP.
I have the exact same plan. And that's my plan. I'm dude. So I'm
gonna be the best LP.
We raise money for all our flips and stuff over here. Yeah. I'm telling all my friends dude, give me a 5-10 years, and I'm just gonna lend on all your guys' deals. You just give me money, and then I don't want to have to think or do anything else, right? So,
that's when I grow up. That's what I want to be.
As long as you trust the operator, the big thing is you trust the operator. Take my money and just give me a monthly check.
Yep. And because you can be as kind of involved as you want and know what's going on. Yeah. That'll satisfy us as entrepreneurs that like to keep doing deals.
To have your hand in the cookie jar.
Or just get a check instead. Yeah. And we get paid first on the deal, which is nice. Yeah. So the operator, you're doing all the work and you get paid last. So only if it actually performs, you get paid too. There's a lot of risk on that. But I realized though as a developer that I had to raise some money because all my equity got buried in a deal, and it's how do I go do this again? So I'm getting curious, and of course I was following Grant Cardone and realized he was raising money. So then that's where I pulled some equity, and then I actually started building storage. I took
Okay.
I took the money and rolled it into storage, and I was like, and I was all about multifamily at that point because I was like totally in the belief of like, hey, everyone needs a place to live.
Yeah.
Like I completely get it.
It's super safe. You can always fill it, right? I mean, like, and you understand it, right? You have a house, you live in a house.
Yeah.
You maybe rented before. I rented before, but like, so like renting to other people, like it's like everybody has to do it, and it just makes sense, right? So
It does, and like my wife actually started a property management company, so we were like doing
Okay.
that in house, and I was learning all these processes of like property management. And you know what I did learn is that it's a complete pain in the ass, to be honest. And we ended up stopping the company because like I was dealing with property management issues at my level. It's like, why am I dealing with that?
Yeah.
Like I need to be dealing with something bigger and far more valuable. So
opportunity that's available, right? So like I think someone once told me that like whatever opportunity you have now, whenever you venture into a new opportunity, it has to be bigger than the one you're at now. So like if you're doing development, you're making like, well, let's say like some stupid like 5-10 million, whatever the things you're making. If you go into the property management venture and it's making way less, why are you putting energy over here when you can look for like a bigger opportunity, right?
Exactly. All of my time was getting consumed in property management, and I'm like, I need to focus on deals. Like that's like my superpower is getting deals done. And it's like, okay, so we stopped the property management company.
Okay.
We hired
Good
that
choice.
out.
Good
Well,
choice.
yeah, we didn't have enough scale, so we had like 150 units, 100,000 square feet in space, and was like, it's just not enough to support our, and we have turnover in that. It's a difficult. If I wouldn't even do it unless you had minimum 1,000 units. So take that knowledge, hire it out, let the pros do it, learn from them, and then maybe do it in the future. So, but I took all that money and I rolled it into storage, and I did larger storage. So I did like 18 by 48
Okay.
sized units. And I built a building. Like it was like 14 units, the first building. And it was like the maximum size before fire sprinkler and all that kind of kicked in.
Okay.
And they're bigger units. They're 16 feet tall. They're a 12 by 14 overhead door.
Okay.
And I did half heated and I did half unheated because I was really unsure. Is like the
worst,
market willing to pay
Yeah.
it's like a self-storage unit, but it's large and it's heated. So of course. And so I was like 250 and 350 or 250 and 300, something like that. I was $50 more a month to have heat.
Okay.
And I'm in the Midwest, North Dakota.
Yeah, okay.
And anyway, so, and well, of course, what do we fill first? The 7 units that are
ones.
heated. I'm like, huh. And so then I was like, the furnace only cost 10 grand to install to heat the other 7 units. Okay. So I'm like, that makes payoffs less than a year. It's like, this makes sense. And so then I jacked the rents up from 250 to 350, and boom, I fill those right away. I'm like, huh, people are willing to pay for large heated storage. And I was treating them as self-storage though. You could slide your credit card.
Yeah.
Every 30 days I can fluctuate rent. I love self-storage now that I know. And I built another building, filled that one. Built another building, filled that one. And then I built 3 more. Now those are full. I'm like, in a bad market.
How long does it take to build these guys, or what does that process look like?
They're fairly quick. I mean, probably 60 to 90 days you could build.
Really that fast?
Yeah.
Wow,
probably
crazy.
90 days. Yeah, to get them rented up.
Okay.
But yeah, now we're this is in Grand Forks, North Dakota, and then now we're in Fargo, and we're building our next facility. Now we have we're about 40% complete on that one, but I didn't realize there was that big a market space for this. This is larger storage, which usually gets like the knock, like, hey, you want to build small units because you get higher dollar per square foot price, right?
Yeah. And there's like your tenant pool is like a lot bigger. So like everybody and their mom can use like a small storage. But like the tenant pool on these larger guys, there's like a less tenant pool or people with clients or who are available, right? So.
There is, yeah. And what I realized that like, so there's places in Phoenix called Toy Barn, and that you like these high level like car clubs. Like you build like a man cave. And they're like $500,000 for a 20 by 50. And you can build your like a man cave in there and whatever. And it's like a club. Well, man, we're building these storage units. It's like, wow, I think if I just open up the demographic to everybody, but keep it large storage units, and then I term them luxury storage. I was on Ryan Pineda's podcast and then kind of termed it that, and now everyone knows it as that. But we're getting all these business owners. We're getting like flex space or flex space, like just people that need smaller industrial space. They don't need 20,000 square feet. And in most of these big places, you can't find that kind of footage. And so, whatever, we're like completely opening the book. We got car guys, we got RVs, we got boats, we got flex space, people storing flooring in there.
Yeah.
We got, all these different tenant base.
So it's basically like this: you're meeting a need in the market that like people. No one realized it was a need, but you're like, hey, you found this gold mine. You're like, hey, like actually, like this thing is like everybody could really use this. And once you market it right and people can see like the vision, they're like, actually, I really want this as well too. And so it's just now that you have business taking off and you're building these like little. It's crazy to me that you can do it in 90 days. And so
yeah, and so, man. And here's the deal. I can mitigate my risk. I could condo each unit. I could sell them. I could do anything I wanted, and they're larger storage spaces that are basically treated as self-storage. But it's definitely a grayscale of a self-storage and contractor shop or like a business suite. There's no bathroom.
Yeah.
It's just a larger unit with a sidewalk door and an overhead door that's HVAC controlled. So it's got heater air conditioning in it. And depending upon your market. And so then like, I don't know, man, like people are renting them as self-storage for their businesses and different things. And we're filling these spaces. So we're going to continue building this around the nation.
Okay. So I mean, you're going to expand to different markets and everything. So
yeah, we're moving to South Dakota. We got a deal ready for spring, and then Rapid City, if you're familiar with that market, a very good market in South Dakota. We're going there next. We just got an LOI on the land there, and then we're trying to get some deals down in Phoenix and Florida.
So I mean, when you guys are scoping out these locations of like for the need, what's like their process on whether or not it's a good fit for you to start building these things?
Yeah, so of course we're larger storage, meaning you could put a semi in here, whatever, right? So we're all one level. You see these multi-story self-storage. So our efficiency is only about 35% on the land. So we need like 4 to 6, sometimes even 10 acres in a big market. Smaller markets, tertiary markets, 4 to 6. You move up in the markets, maybe you're looking at 6 to 8, and then big markets probably 10.
So everybody kind of has like their own they can drive into like their own bay or their own section, and then there's no, because like if you're doing 2 stories, like now you can't like drive things upstairs, right? But it's like it's the one level, and then so everybody can have it's kind of like it's way more. I feel like single family feel-ish kind of than like condo, right? Where like you can like have a man cave and you can kind of like do your thing or whatever. And it's like, it's probably more private than like it was if it was like a larger like multi-story facility.
Right, yeah. It's like townhomes instead of an apartment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we have to be on one level. We're a little bit higher tier.
Yeah.
So we are a little more per square foot.
Okay.
And we get that rent. But, these facilities are working in any kind of market, and there's a demand for it. Like smaller businesses don't need 10,000 square feet. You can't even usually get that in those big flex space industrial spaces. So we fit the need of those people. Like we have a pretty big window of people that are actually, so I allow people, and like if you are interested in luxury storage, like find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram at mark.kuhn.mac and just type in luxury storage, like DM me that. I'll figure out how you can either passively invest in it or how we can partner together and get in a land deal if you have land in your market. Because there's a lot of people want these in their market. We kind of have the buy box for the land and what our requirements are. And we'll be able to partner up with people. Because my goal is to roll up 30, 40, 50 of these facilities. Have about half a billion of them under control, and then dump them to a probably life insurance company.
Love it.
Or these REITs love these things. They love storage because it's so automated. And then we have higher end storage, so like we don't have 5x5s.
It's like the A+ of storage. Right?
So like our tenant base is just better. And it's super sticky. Like self storage, again, you can adjust rates, but like you can adjust rates every 30 days. In multifamily, you can't do that. You're usually stuck in for a year. Not in all cases, but usually. And so we can, if our occupancy climbs to 99%, we treat it like a business, crank up the rents. And so that's just how it follows. You get your occupancy down to 90. All right, now start smoothing things back.
So just to go back to your story, I mean, it's an incredible, you've done an amazing job creating this incredible niche or this thing that you guys are building. But you started the first one in 2017.
Yep.
So
2020, actually.
2020. So 2020, you started the first one to 3 years now. Where you guys are just you're in expansion mode, and I love seeing guys when you're on your way up. I mean, if you already come so far from $200,000 contractor to now 25 million, but now you're just getting started. Where the opportunity up here is it's insane to me how quickly you scaled and how you got into where you are so fast.
Yeah, and I think about right now, like a really hard time to raise money. Like it's a difficult time, right? Like, and so we're willing to partner with people. I'm actually creating a holding company within my construction, my development, my management company, because I'm going to allow like the top tier investors to actually invest in our companies. So they have a super alignment of interest in our luxury storage portfolio. So they don't only get just the real estate side, they also get to be on the development side and make money there. So they get to make money on both sides. So right now we've been working on that, the holding company, and then also having the real estate portfolio
and then
outside of that.
Go public, launch your IPO.
Hopefully one day. Well, hopefully we sell all that real estate portfolio off, and then we'll sell the holding company to scale another type of product or the same type of product.
So when you guys are kind of, I mean, like your journey from 200,000 to 25 million, what was like the hardest bottleneck during that whole process, would you say?
From what to what?
From 200,000 to 25 million. 25
million,
like,
yeah, man.
It's a start. Was it like what? So like you started in 2010. So 13 years to basically like go from basically nothing, like it was zero before the 200,000, right? So 0 to 25 million. That's an incredible, like, I feel like trajectory or launch, you know?
Yeah, to me it's been slow. Like I just added 1 to 2 people. I didn't get greedy. I think I really realized at that $1 to $2 million mark to get outside of that, that's going to be your biggest feat. And I think as a concrete guy, maybe I was a little egotistical. I didn't ask for people for help. I didn't get vulnerable, you know, with people and actually tell them how I was doing, you know.
I feel like that's like a big part of like entrepreneurs and investors in general, where we don't like to share our like downsides or the struggles that we're going to. Like, oh, I feel like I'm struggling to raise money. I'm struggling to find deals, whatever. But like, it's because like everyone wants to have like their image, and like it's such a world where like you don't want to like show vulnerability. But I think whenever like you can get to like a small group of guys, or where you can have like a mentor or something where you can actually, hey, I'm really struggling with this, can you help me? I've always found help where like people are just willing to jump in and trying to give you like as much advice or resources just to kind of help you get over those humps.
Dude, when you start asking people for help, it's amazing the people that'll actually reach out and help you. And I didn't know that. Maybe I wanted the face of everything's perfect. And once you realize like that's honestly that's what hurt me the most. The first 5-6 years in business, I could be probably 3 times as far if I would have asked for help right out of the gate. And so I would always tell everyone, like, get curious and ask for help, get vulnerable, tell them your issues. You know, it's like, hey, I have problems right now. You know, I need to scale luxury store. I've never done this before. I'm documenting. I'm on podcasts. I'm out vlogging, trying to tell people how I'm doing this. But I need people in operations in that. I don't know how to scale. I don't have like 10 land entitlement guys and I don't have guys on the back end operations. I'm forming a lot of this and forming a small team. So if you are interested in scaling luxury storage with me and have some development experience,
we may have a talk after this.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it in Hawaii. So.
I want, and let's get luxury storage in Hawaii, and then I can market. I can come here and check on it.
We'll make it out. We'll work something out.
We always need help at any level. We're all accountable to somebody. I'm accountable to investors. Even if I own all these companies, it's like, if you're not accountable to anyone, life gets too boring. Unfortunately, it's
also very healthy. I feel like whenever you have accountability, I think a lot of people, like, when you hear the word accountability, it's like, I don't like that because it puts like pressure on you. But it's like a healthy pressure where we need to have pressure or accountability in our lives for us to grow. And I think a lot of times we don't want pain, but we want growth. Yeah. But you can't have like both together without the one or without the other, right? So
and I think, so what kind of level of uncomfortability are you willing to put yourself through, right? Like you don't want to get comfortable. And so I've spent the last couple of years like just trying to put myself out there on these podcasts, following Ryan Pineda for social media. I didn't want to do that. You know what I mean? Like that's not my superpower, but it has grown. A lot of people have grown my name, and now I can get luxury storage out there. Now I can build a team around this and like help me get on my operation sides to help me scale. You know, it's like
you seem like a natural though. I mean, like I feel like personally, I feel like I'm a huge introvert. For me to get on social media, it was a huge. When I first started, I filmed all these things to post on a reel, and then I just like never posted because I was too embarrassed, and I just hate hearing my voice. But I mean, and so even to this day, I cringe when I listen to like my episodes. But like for you, I feel like you're a natural. You're very communicative. You're like you're well spoken. You come across really well on social media platforms.
Well, I appreciate that, Daniel. I don't know if that we're all working on something. I was actually sitting at a table last night after the podcast with Brandon Turner. We went out for a drink. He doesn't drink anymore, but he brought us to a brewery, and we got to have drinks with Brandon. So you do that, right? Like you take that chance. So, and I was just talking to him about, what he's working on right now, where his head's at, and he shared with me that just because I want to get on Ryan Pineda's stage and I want to do some of that. I think that'd be really uncomfortable. It'd put me in a real weird position. And now I kind of like thrive on that. Cameras used to weird me out. Now it's like, whatever. Just be you. Just do your thing. And that takes time and reps. But Brandon's like, he's working on, he's like, I just hired a coach, to get a better keynote for the Better Life Tribe that he's speaking at. Or, and he's been podcasting for 10 years. You know what I mean? This guy's he's a great communicator. But he's like, he just bought a bunch of books on how to tell better stories and how to really help people, and like he's always working on himself.
I feel like the best guys are constantly trying to improve. Like even looking at guys like Tiger Woods. I remember like way back in the day, he was crushing it. Then he hired like this new coach who's trying to make him get better. I was like, dude, why did you just stick with what you're doing as opposed to trying to get better? But like it just the top level guys, Kobe, like Jordan, like they're always hiring coaches, always trying to improve their craft, get better every single day. And I feel like that kind of mindset or vibe is really what actually creates success in life.
Absolutely, man. And I always tell everybody, like, if you're stuck, like where you're at, like, you can definitely look at the 5 people around you. But you don't have, like, say you don't, you have multiple kids, you're just not able to like get out and like hang out with the boys that you want to be hanging out with. It's like, dude, most of your mentors or the people you follow, like, are you following, if you want to do sales, follow Andy Elliott, you know what I mean? Like these influencers are there for a reason. They're there to help you. And once you start listening to them, you're going to start thinking like that. And then once now, like I get around them, these guys are really big thinkers. And it's like, wow, how small. Like I'm thinking about building 5 luxury storage facilities in a year. Like, how do I get to that scale? And they're like, bro, I don't do 10. Like, why just do 5? I'm like,
it blows her. I mean, honestly, it's crazy. I've had the exact same experience with do some coaching in Pineda. And so like, I didn't realize I had limiting beliefs until I got into the room and had those limiting beliefs broken. So before I started investing, I was like, okay, my goal is just to make 6 figures. Like if I can make $100,000 a year, I made it in life. That was all I wanted. I was like, dude, if I can just make that was like my, like, I'm going to retire like into the sunset. I've made it. Right. And like that limiting belief got broken in real estate investing. And then even now, I feel like I've done so well, or like relatively to like a lot of like other my peers. But then like when you talk to a guy like Ryan, like you realize that you still have limiting beliefs in your life. Where like there's still like another like 10 levels ahead of you that you can actually achieve, but you need somebody to kind of speak into your life to kind of like tell you, dude, like Mark, don't do 5, do 100, dude. Like you can do like so much more, and until you kind of really believe that you can do it, you're not actually gonna accomplish it.
Dude, it's 100% the truth. Every time I'm around Ryan or a guy like that, like the think is so big, and it's like, so he's like, dude, I'm not shooting for $1 million or 10 million or 100 million. I'm shooting for $1 billion. Like we're going for $1 billion. Like I need to build the model. I'm going to reverse engineer it and let's attack it. And it's like, and talking to Turner, it's like, I'm not chasing 100 million. I'm being $1 billion. That's just where I'm going. And so, I mean, it's contagious. You start thinking like that, you start reversing engineering the plan for it. It's like, I guess that's more more approachable than I thought it was going to be. It's
like, you believe it's possible. I think the biggest thing is like, once you believe it's possible and you can actually do it, now the gears start turning. Now, like you said, you're reverse engineering it. Like your subconscious starts working behind the scenes. You're like, where can I get the resources to actually make this happen? But it all starts with the belief that you actually can. You know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I always, for mindset stuff, I'll listen to like Ed Milet. Type of, like, because we all have imposter syndrome to some point, right? Like you're not killing on social media. Like what's wrong? And I don't want to watch myself either. And I'm, I have 2,500 Instagram followers. Do I care? Not really. I'm just trying to get a message out. Will it go up if I keep doing inputs? Probably. It should. But like, just keep, like, Ed's a very good guy to like get out of your own head and actually like, his those things max out. But like, he's a very good I'm sure he's a great coach.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day I'll get the opportunity.
I heard his coaching is pretty insane. It's like, what is it, like
I don't know.
Mil for like it's something stupid. Like,
is
it's
a mil?
really, I think it's a mil plus something for like for coaching with this dude. So yeah, but it's crazy. But the thing is, there's guys who will pay that, because then he's gonna make them 10, 20, 30 million off the coaching with him, right? So it's just it's all relative to what your goals are and where you're trying to get to.
Dang. So when we started hiring Ed on my led as our coach, we made it.
I think so.
I think so. We could justify scanning your Amex for $1 million and then like know that you're going to 30 million. Hopefully, you're willing to put in the work. So yeah, no, it's such a huge thing for me. It's like mindset. Get over the imposter syndrome. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations. You're going to break through levels, because you're not only thinking like that, but like you believe it now. And you have to believe in yourself. Otherwise, you're just going to sit, you're going to wait for timing or, you know, something to happen. I promise nothing's going to happen. Just go and take some action. If it turns out bad, you made a decision is the most important part.
Right? Yeah, that's
you make a
really point.
decision.
Yeah.
Like, don't sit and ponder on it. If you don't like your situation where you're at, hire a coach within that. I guarantee you'll improve it. If you don't like where your health's at, hire a health coach. I guarantee you'll improve it.
And it happens at every level too, because like you're at this level now where like you're trying to get from like, let's say 25 to 100 million, right?
Yeah,
but like
exactly.
The level from 0 to 200, there was like a mindset shift right there.
Oh yeah.
Right from 200 to like 1 million, every level has different mindset shifts. So wherever you are currently, you have a barrier or mindset to break. So even if you're like at 1 billion, you're like, dude, why not 10 billion? So like every level has like a limiting belief where you're trying to break and get to that next level, right?
Yeah, dude. 25 to 100 is going to be my that's my challenge. There is no level between that, you know. So it's like I can already see the path to 100 million. Like I've built the plan, and now I just got to figure out some guys who've been there, and so I figured that out, you know, through some of these connections. So now I'm like talking to them, like, hey, what do I do? And he's like, oh, bro, you're right there. Like, just do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, let's go. So
I mean, it's crazy. So like, let's say you hit that goal in the next 3, 4, 5, even like 5 years, right? So like you'd be basically
40.
You basically would be zero. Like what is this? 200,000. Like you're basically going from like 200,000 to like 100 million in like 10 years ish. Like that's insane.
Yeah,
So
I mean that's the whole man. Keep thinking big, but keep surrounding yourself with those. It'll happen. Like it's going to happen. I'll apply enough pressure that it's going to happen. It's just, what's going to be your barriers? You know, there's going to be all these problems that come up that I've never been in. I don't know how to attack them. I'm going to find now I figure out the people who are in those situations.
Yeah.
How did you solve this? How did you do this? How did you raise money? Talking to Brandon. How did you raise this much money? How are you doing this? It's like
a lot of times too, it's like it's crazy how valuable like a dinner with Brandon Terdo or Ryan Pineda is. Like when I first started my journey, I was like, I'm never paying for education. I don't like, why would you spend this much money to just have a conversation with somebody? But it's crazy how just being around a person and having a conversation or like spending like a few hours with a guy can literally change your beliefs and your life. Yeah. It's so crazy to me how like that actually happens, but I've seen it happen in my life. I've seen it happen to other people's lives where just literally just like a dinner and like a conversation with like a high level guy just completely wipes off like what you believe about the world and like and your worldview. You know, it's insane.
Yeah. You think big and then you don't think big enough. I promise you.
It's so crazy. So like maybe like somebody who's kind of just getting started, like they see Marc, they're like, dude, I want to get from 0 to 200 or to 1 million, like on that level. What kind of advice would you get to somebody like that?
Like in contracting? Or
any just like in general, whether it's small business, contracting. Let's do contracting. That sounds like interesting.
Yeah, well, if you're a contractor, if you're in business doing 200,000, I mean, you're down to yourself, right? You have to be somewhat an operator, and you're gonna have multiple.
You have some
hats.
success, right? Like 0 to 200, like if you don't make 200, just work harder, figure it out, and like you got to grind it to get to that point, right?
Yeah.
So.
And the process of elimination is usually how I tell those people, because you're focused on multiple things at that point, and you're probably even focused on multiple product types. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to sell it all just to do more.
Yeah.
You know, write down the 10 things the way you make money, and cross out 8 of them. Look at the last 2 and then select, one or do both, right? Like just figure out the 2, because usually 20% of the 10 things you're looking at actually create a lot of the outcome. Yeah. And I'm a true believer in that When I was focused on a lot, when I was trying to get through those barriers, I was like, guys, we can't do residential construction, pour stamp patios, and like do all these little things and do 10, $20 million in volume. It's just, it's mathematically impossible because we're seasonal. We don't have a long enough working season. So it's like, all right, we have to just say no. Like, this is our bread and butter stuff. We're saying no to.
It's so hard.
We got
to
say no to the small stuff. No.
Yeah.
And then now we have to get comfortable in these commercial contracting jobs minimum sizes of 500,000. It's like anything else we have to say no. Otherwise we can't say yes to these big things. And these big things are what's going to create the better outcome. And that's how we went from, 5 to 10 million up into the 20 million range because we had to say no. And now we're just a commercial contractor. So it's like, that's where we just started the process of elimination. What is actually going to create the outcome for you?
I feel like it's so hard to say no to things, especially like it's because it's making you money, right? It's like, hey, there's so much opportunity. I think as entrepreneurs too, like we like new, you want to try new things. And there's so much opportunity in the world. But like it's so detrimental for us as entrepreneurs because when we can't just stick with and just hyper focus on one thing, you never become like really great at that one thing, which eventually leads to like the massive growth in your career. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And like for us to keep growing, like we were sick like in the contracting world.
Yeah.
And I think most people could probably follow along with this is that you get in and it's just cutthroat in business.
What do you mean by that?
It's
like
the race to the bottom. Like lower your like, okay, you're selling, I'm going to use flooring as the example. You're selling a flooring at $1.50. All right, I'll sell it for $1.40. All right, the next guy's like $1.35. You know what I mean? Like it's just a race to the bottom in the contracting world, especially. But I think in most markets, it's like a race to the bottom in some industries. Not all. Service industry, I don't think has any problems. But contracting, no one wants to pay a contractor anything. We want the cheapest rate, especially as a flipper.
Yeah, we're trying to get.
You're not going at the highest price with everybody.
Yeah.
You're bidding it out. So what we try to do now as developers is we don't want to compete with everybody else. We don't want to compete with 10 other contractors on the same job. We all are bidding the same numbers.
Yeah.
It's who's the race to the bottom on margin.
I see.
And we don't want to, I don't want to do that. So it's like, how can I create more development to create us beyond that space? So like right now what's happening, all these contractors are looking for work because the developers have slowed down, right? Like it just in high interest rates, you're not able to develop. Well, all these contractors are just going down in price. They're calling you for work. Hey, Daniel, you have more homes for, we need more work and we'll give you good rates. You know what I mean? That means they're working cheaper than they used to. And so now we're developing and we can create our own destiny that way. We're not bidding against.
Once you were able to control like the pie, basically, and so because before as a contractor you're kind of like one piece in the puzzle, but then once you have like the reins to the whole puzzle, now you can see where like the opportunity is, and you can kind of focus in on the part that makes the most money or the highest return.
We're not looking to be greedy, but we can make our higher margin on building a project that we're really good at, and if we can raise money for that development, and we have the contracting, well, hey, if we can keep making investors money, now we can just keep rinsing and repeating. Now we're not competing against 10 other contractors for some $5 million job that everyone else is bidding, and it's just a race to the bottom. We can see it happening right now to most contractors. So if you're a small contractor, I would say, or a small business, like figure out a way to create your own destiny a little bit. And I've done that through development. You could, if you're a really small contractor, figure out how to build a home and make a profit. If you're a little bit bigger contractor, figure out how to build a fourplex, something that an investor could come and buy from you, anything under 4 units, because now you can get these Fannie Mae 5% down products and like build a product that you can exit, but like now you can create something from bare land and don't have to bid against everyone else against the same job.
That's really good. Just kind of listen, like thinking through your process. It's just, you're really good at solving problems and like trying to get to the next level, right? So every level that you get to is like, you're trying to solve what that particular problem is. And so like from 0 to like, let's say 200, you're like, dude, you just got to work harder. You got to find a form of your job. You just got to get better at your craft, whatever. But then from 200 to like 1 million, now you got to figure out like a niche or a way to maximize your return on your time and what you're like, and like your business model, right? And so like at each level, there's like a point where you're trying to solve these like big problems along with all the little small problems with like the operations. Like let's like make sure we use white flooring, or like or like let's hire like let's like check our work at this point in stage, right? So there's all those little problems you're trying to solve operationally, but the big problems that you're solving along the way, that's where really like the bigger gains are going to get in your investing in life or in business.
Yeah, man. If you're really good at everything like the handyman guys are, but you can get all these flooring jobs, man, can you easily scale all those flooring jobs much easier than going to hang a shelf. We're going to paint walls today. We got to hang blinds. Now we're going to do some flooring. Now we're going to hang TVs for something. You know, it's too hard to make money that way.
There's also a synergy that happens because when you just focus on, let's say, just flooring, now like you can buy like a bunch in bulk. You can get really good at it because like you're going to be super optimized in just flooring.
Right.
And then in your market, if you market, you're going to be just known as a flooring guy. So then like there's a whole bunch of things that happen whenever you kind of niche down and just find like one lane where you're just really good and hyper focused on it, as opposed to doing like multiple things. And so actually I got some coaching for on the flipping side. Like we want to do multifamily, we want to do like self-storage, we want to do commercial, we want to flip houses, we want to like do rentals, ground up. There's all these like so many like options as an investor, and they all make money, right? So like the thing is, what's scary is because everything makes money, but then like Pin, I was like, dude, just focus on flipping and just like get really good at this one niche or this one vertical, as opposed to trying to spread your focus and your mental energy too thin.
Yeah, and like I think you just look to mitigate risk. That's you know, as a developer, that's all you want. Like I said, build fourplexes because you know that like investors are trying to buy those, and if they cash flow and they can get a 95%, 5% down deal, hey, that might be a great deal, and you got a buyer, and now you can keep your contracting business open. So we're doing a bunch of fourplexes, and you know, maybe we want to sell 2 units and keep 2 units. Whatever, there's options, right? And so I love that. Mitigation of risk in like townhomes and multifamily. So we are still building some of that, but luxury storage is like where our biggest play is outside of North Dakota, South Dakota, and moving into Phoenix and Florida in Sunbelt markets.
I love it. So if people want to like reach out or they want to like learn more about how they can get involved with you either as a passive investor or partner with you on some of these deals, what's like the best way to
the first thing I would do is go and follow me on LinkedIn. You can find me as Marc Kuhn on there, and then you will you should subscribe to my Unfollow the Herd email. I literally break down how I do these deals. So I show like how we got a smaller deal done. Like I'll show them the HUD statements and everything. Like these
on this email blast.
I have people on there that are paying for a free email. Like they just want to keep it going, and they want to see the deals because, you know, I think they're trying to figure out like how is he doing these deals? Like I'm fully documenting my journey all the way up to $1 billion, right? Like this is my journey at $25 million. This is going to be my journey at 100. Like I'm going to show you the entire way through the Unfollow the Herd email. So you can Google Unfollow the Herd. I'm probably up there in Substack.
How'd you come up with the name Unfollow the Herd? What is that? What is the meaning behind that?
Unfollow the Herd. So, you know, I think I was watching a Yogi Berra. He's an old Yankees player, and he says when you know, if you come to a fork in the road, take it. And so I think what that means is unfollowing the herd, just finding your own path, right? Don't just follow the herd and do what everyone else is doing. If everyone else is going to multifamily, doesn't mean you have to go to cross-grain, or doesn't mean you have to go into multifamily. Like figure out your own path. Like I'm doing luxury storage, larger storage. Most self-storage guys would come on here and like, no, the smaller units make the most money. This is the only way. That's great. I'm getting the higher prices on a bigger product type, and I'm getting a higher class tenant. So I have my own things, but like create your own path.
Have you read this book, the book Blue Ocean? So the whole idea behind this book is that like whenever like let's say the contracting world is like a red ocean, there's like a lot of sharks. Everybody's kind of like fighting for the same piece of pie. Whenever you can find a new interesting opportunity, it's like called a blue ocean. So like you found this opportunity where like there's like untapped market, like you're not competing against anybody else because you're like very unique and you have like your own kind of like thing there. So like it's like this, I mean, it's exactly what you're doing, and it sounds exactly like Unfollow the Herd, where like it's the red ocean and the blue ocean kind of like idea. So,
I've heard the theme. I've never read the book though. And so you know, be authentic to who you are, and you know, feel fine to take your own path. Don't just always blend in and go with what's most comfortable. Because I think when you take the fork in the road, everyone knows it's going to be a little uncomfortable and a little bumpy. That's okay. You promise you, it's not always going to be the best road, but a lot of times building your own journey is going to be
in the long term, right? In the beginning, there's going to be bumps and bruises. You're going to make mistakes, but then like by taking your own road, that's like the biggest opportunity. And this applies to like if you have like a job, right? You're working W2, but like being an entrepreneur, investing in real estate, or these other opportunities, it's like when you go out to something different, it's always going to be hard and challenging, and you're going to have setbacks, but like the upside is always way higher than the tried and true, right?
Of course. Yeah. That's the risk we take as entrepreneurs. But like, yeah, I mean, re-listen to this podcast. You can break through into your business. It's like very easily, like, business is not hard once you break it down. There's so much content out there. YouTube. If you're on YouTube, follow me on there. I literally will vlog behind the scenes of what we're doing here. Well, what I'm doing, like how you become the 1%. That's like the journey. Like, how do you get out of your W-2? There's doctors, there's pharmacists that want to get out of their W-2. You went to school for 12 years. What do you mean you want to get out? I don't want to be locked in freaking 8 to 5 anymore. That's like where the world is trending. So if you like what we're talking about and want to become like kind of create your own path and get out of W-2, like unfollow the herd email. Like, I'm literally telling you how to do it.
Well, you got a new subscriber over here, so I'll be following the
let's go.
Herd, so
let's go. And but yeah, I'm on Instagram, I'm all the other social media platforms. Do a lot of podcasts, so I'm trying to get on as many shows, and I super appreciate you having me on, man.
Well, I mean, it's been a great time. I learned a lot. I'm just like super excited to see your journey, and I'm sure a lot of people are inspired as well. So thank you for coming on, bro. I appreciate you.
All right, thanks, dude.